What a fantastic afternoon it is set to be here this afternoon. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Green Flag TV, where we get set to duke it out one more time for the Beer League. It's round two and the Corkscrew Booze Cruise. My name is Rempel alongside Acinni. We bring you all of racing action from the good old Super Formula Light from start to finish here this afternoon. Boy, it is going to be a wild outing for us here this afternoon, Fen, as we look set to duke this one out for a good 15-minute sprint in the 1 hour main. Bound to be a fun one here this afternoon for the Weathertech Raceway.
That it certainly is, with that fantastic and notorious type of corners called the Corkscrew and all the other corners that make this track what it is. I think it's a fantastic place to take into Super Formula Lights and seeing how far and how close to the edge they can push it. Qualifying looked, or excuse me, practice looked to be like they were trying to see how far they could get over the edge. We'll see where they rated in for qualifying.
Well, take a rundown of your official point standings exiting race number one. It was a wild one for the Phillip Island and a lot of dramas, if you remember as well. Austin Farr was set to take one of his first wins. He spotted Phil on the final lap, and that is what costed him a race win. He ended up dropping all the way back to the third place spot by the end of that opening lap, but it is not your race winner, Henry Lieberman, coming home number one. And for that one, it's actually Kyle Blevins getting the drop on these drivers as a courtesy of the sprint race points, right? Reminding drivers that, hey, the top 12 in points are the sprint just as important as the main event.
That they certainly are. Was able to get good points there. Most of the drivers on this roster, I believe, were also included in those top 12 point finishes. And it's going to make for some tight grids, a tie between Scott Fleming and Henry Lieberman for second as we move over to the team championships, which are just as close as we get into round one.
Super serious racing still right now up on the very top of the boards with about 15 clear of Super Formula Bros, with Serial Team 6 making its return as well. Just about 17 back down in number 3. And of course, all of these point standings is going to be flipping around wildly over the course of the championship, with a long season still ahead of us here this afternoon. So with all of that said and done, qualifying is very much underway here this afternoon as drivers look set to put down some laps. Let's fly right on board with Justin Brissy, who could take us for a ride.
He will, in fact, do so up the uphill start-finish stretch, into all those gears, hard on the brakes here, into the Andretti hairpin to start out a lap, and then immediately back on the throttle. A bit of unconventional driving here. For these Super Formula Lights, you're going to be more coasting than you are really applying the brakes to this middle sector, or the end of the first sector into the second sector, as you go through turns, I believe 3 and 4 technically. And back onto up through the gears, you'll go back down through them into the braking zone here. Not as much as you would in a tin top, because you've got the downforce keeping the car planted in that cambered corner. You now are making your way up through the kink, the fast left-hander, really just a flip of the throttle to not get that car spun, and then up to the famous Corkscrew. Lovely pair of a left-hander followed by right-hander, hard on the brakes. Trying to get up through there. Oh, got a little too aggressive there. Runs over the gravel out of the corner, and you're wrapping it up with a couple more left-handers, one more right-hander, and then the final hairpin to round out a lap here. Have a look at a second.
That final hairpin, a frequent sight of last-minute lunches, especially in the final lap, and we see that across any series that race here, right? Whether it be club racing or IMSA racing. We saw that happen when VSCA was out here some time ago. We saw it the last time the Beer League was out here, and no doubt we're going to be seeing it again at least once or twice throughout the course of the afternoon. Well, with that said and done, the current times are up on your screens as drivers are set to battle this one out for what should be a good, intense 15-minute qualifying session. If you remember, it was actually at this very racetrack where we saw one of the tightest qualifying battles this league has ever seen last season in the Legend 34 Coupes. And of course, the reason why the battle came about, because this is one of those racetracks that everyone on iRacing knows.
Yeah, you are at this track from the moment you kind of start iRacing in the MX-5s or the Formula Vs, as well as the Formula 4 1600s if you're a little bit of a newer iRacer. And you're in there up until you peak the mountain in the various sports car and Formula car, as they're now split up, or the road car before all that, disciplines, including IMSAs, IMSA Championship iRacing Series comes here, as well as the Mercedes W13 Formula A, as well as Super Formula and the rest of the Formula side of things also do make their way here about once a year.
Gabriel Gonzalez just ran a bit wide on the exit of the final corner. He's not going to be able to get a time, and Jay Casey has his time disrupted by a slowing Tyler Carlton. Verhulst and Bracey both going to go into 11th and 12th respectively. How about Top Adult jumping all the way up to 4th? And Kasich, despite being disrupted on that final corner, that's still good enough for 10th place. That is a car that could easily be into the top 5.
Yeah, I would absolutely imagine that when he gets a flying lap without having to worry about those last couple corners, we'll probably see him hop into the top 5. I think there's a couple other drivers also cut up in that moment with Gabriel Gonzalez, and I think we'll also see move up the order. Alex Crawford running a little too much there, not applying enough of the lift to keep that car going in the right direction. It spins.
So he's going to loop it around. Sebastian Close gets in there as well, as he's going to work to put this time away. Oh, but a big twitch is going to send him off the racetrack at 4.
Keeps that car going the right direction, though, as Eric Ronenberg also having a major twitch on that hairpin to round out the lap. He still kept it within the lines, I believe, to improve that time by a full second, jumping himself up to 9th.
So the field going to keep on keeping on, as we are going to look to put some more times away. Chris Flams improve it into the number 2 spot, less than a 10th of a second behind Alex Crawford. So Crawford's number 1 time, very much not a safe and secure thing at the moment. Austin Tucker just starting another lap for him. He has yet to put down time on the boards. One driver that's looking to make some major improvements going to be Jason Lee, with Eric Ronenberg right behind him.
Yeah, Eric Ronenberg right behind him by only 100th or so. And he's going to see if he can make, at least increase that gap, if not catch up to Alex King, who's only 200ths ahead of him. So we'll see. It looks like he's got an improvement here. We'll see what that time looks like when he comes across the line. Oh, and that jumps him up to 2nd. Fantastic stuff for Jason Lee.
Excellent time from Jason Lee. Eric Ronenberg is unable to improve. He'll remain in the number 9 spot, while Alex Crawford retains at the head of the field, although not able to improve on his time. That has put him up front. There is Alexander Bueller. Shane Cameron just up the road from him as well. Cameron doesn't look like he's on an improvement, but Alexander Bueller certainly is, as is Top Adol right behind him. He's just been bumped down to 8th as Kyle Blevins goes to 4th. And what's the time from Bueller? It'll be good enough for 7th or 6th.
It will be. Austin Tucker also setting the 113.94, 200ths faster than Kyle Blevins to round out the podium as it currently stands. So only a 10th separates the top 4 drivers. Like we were talking about, people really know how to get the most out of these cars at this track because of how long they've simply been driving here in iRacing. And it shows with how tight the top 5 are away from each other. Top 6, really, that are all within about a 10th from each other. As I say that, Jason Lee sets the fastest time with a 113.62, and Scott Fleming jumping up to 2nd with a 113.83, opening up that gap to the rest of the field. We'll see if other people have responses there.
Good solid effort from Jason Lee. We'll jump back to Chris Bright. See if Bright has a potential answer for the field. As the field can drive her in deep into turn numbers into the final corner. Bright, can he improve on the 114.5? Crosses the line, he sure does. Improves by a good bit as well. That'll be good enough for 8th place.
Yeah, he improves a good bit from his previous lap, but the margins here very tight, only a second separating most of the drivers from P1 down to P14, and then it gets a little bit bigger as those gaps open up as drivers get their groove and find the last few tenths to improve that time back into this window of drivers that we see all of them now closing back into that gap that Jason Lee had created by 0.2. Scott Fleming rounding that down as well to a 113.64 this most recent time by.
Well, the pack going to try to get itself sorted. Matt Verstappen deeper in the field. Right now running on the cusp of the top 10. He's trying to improve on the 114.4. Into the final few corners. Showing that he's up potentially by a good bit. To the line, not going to get there. He lost it in the final corner.
Yeah, that hairpin gives as much as it takes, and if you get a bad exit out of it, that whole run up until that point kind of has to come to a screeching halt.
Now, here's the big question, right? Does Alex Cofford have a response with the front runners? We'll figure that out in just a moment as Tom Madole is right now working the final series of turns as Kyle Blevins going to go to provisional pole. A great run for Blevins, puts himself on top, and all of a sudden, Cofford's attempts have just gotten a little bit harder. He's got to make up 0.3 of a second if he wants to improve. This will be close here.
Yeah.
Oh, I just missed it.
But he closes that gap that it was 0.2 to Scott Fleming down to 0.02. And even closer than that, if I'm looking at this correctly, down to a few, almost 1,000th. So. And the rest of the field looking to make their last few runs. Another thing I noticed with these drivers, able to find a kind of a dancing partner, able to get a little bit more time out of it. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing with some of these front runners, Kyle Blevins amongst a couple others in some of those straights. Not as many here as it is other courses where it becomes really important to have a little bit of a draft to maximize your time. But we'll have to see here. Jake Kasich, someone we talked about improving, and he's been steadily getting faster all night, up to 113.98. See where he comes when he gives back around at the end of the lap.
And he just improved to put himself up to the 7th place position. So like you say, a good solid effort for him. Quite a few drivers have opted to abstain from qualifying. Those guys include Barrett, Milhot, Romano, Augustino, and Morris, the usual suspects. Blake Gamble with big improvements. He's going to jump up to 19th from what was around, I think, about 26th or so. And Jay Kasich still looking to try and fight his way around as he goes up the hill to the Corkscrew.
Yeah, we saw, I believe, a few drivers pulling off there to let him through as he gets through that. Nicely done. Tidy run through the Corkscrew there through, I believe it's Rainey Curve, excuse me, to round out that lap.
Don't think Case is going to get it this time by. It looks like he might be a little bit further down the line as he's trying to get back up to the start-finish stretch in time. Well, he does improve, but he is not going to go to pole. It doesn't even break into the top 5. Goes to 6th. He's still 9th out behind Tucker.
Yeah, he doesn't break into the top 5, but the top 5 are separated by 0.2, of which he's only 100th behind P5 Austin Tucker with a 113.78. So it's still, up for grabs in the closing stages here.
Boy, I tell you what, he is having an absolute run of it right now as Kyle Blevins looks set to pull this one away. Jason Lee right now trying to see if he's got any answer. And by the way, we are in the final minutes of qualifying, right? So drivers are starting to run out of time. And for several of them, these attempts may very well be the last ones they can get in.
Yeah, with a minute 13 lap time, they are probably going to be able to get 1 or 2 good flying runs without any problems, or maybe one last flying run if they have to come back in to get more fuel if they chose to run them very light. So it's 1 to 2 laps, everything they've got, and a little bit of help will probably get them to improve, but otherwise we might see this grid kind of stay where it is. Both Jason Lee and Kyle Blevins have a pretty fantastic run in these Super Formula Lights. We're only 2 weeks in. We'll have to see how that evolves over the course of the season, but definitely a car that at least seems to be responding well to them early on.
Again, don't think Jason Lee is going to be able to improve. He's got less than 10 seconds to get back around to the start-finish line. And, oh, well, he's definitely not going to improve now after that. He's just going to tag it off the wall, and now he'd have to reset to pit road. He would still have time to get another lap in, but, I mean, the question of are the tires going to be willing to cooperate with him by the time he gets back around. It's worth noting, right, all the debris on the racetrack, that does slow a car down when you're going around here, which is what makes these sessions so arduous in the back half of them.
Yeah, it's also why it's so many small, you see a lot twitching that happens as these drivers run over bits of the track that then kicks up. You know, they pick up pieces of gravel there that make the contact patch for these tires ever just a little bit of break there, which can mean whether or not that car grips through a turn versus loses control. And we'll see probably a little bit happen in the race as well, where these cars get pushed just a little too hard, similar to how Alex Crawford did at the beginning of this qualifying session.
So 3.5 minutes. Kyle Blevins trying to improve. He kicks the tail end out, and that will scrub off any advantage he may have had. Just barely misses out, but without literally missed out, you know that had he not had that slide at the final corner, he was going to reset the fastest lap.
I definitely think he had that in him to set that lap time even faster. We'll have to see if he can pull one last attempt out here. He has the time. We'll also see Alex Crawford coming out of the final corner. That is a smooth run out of the hairpin there, right on the line, but not over.
Oh, it's close. Oh, he may have gotten him. Hold on.
It does.
He does. How about that for Crawford at the buzzer? Man. And all of a sudden, Blevins needs to get that extra lap in.
Yeah, he's got the run here. We'll see if it continues throughout the lap, but Alex Crawford really lining up everything he needed to get that lap done as quickly as possible. And I think he'll probably take provisional pole unless Kyle Blevins has a response here.
Blevins is quick. He's been quick all session long. He currently leads the way in the point standings, and I'm sure that is a great motivator to stay there. Chucks it into the final corner, looking to fire back out down the front straightaway. Can he take it back? No, he may. No. He improves on his own time, but not on the actual positioning. Still has one lap, though. He has one chance. This is his last attempt here.
Yeah, he has one more chance. I think he is the only one out of the top four. Austin Tucker also, I believe, still at least turning laps as well. We'll have to see if he can put this thing together now. We're riding along with him. We'll see whether or not he gets that lap put together the way he wants it to. And that's a spin. Oh, and that is going to be that qualifying attempt done and dusted with an unfortunate end.
What a valiant effort, though.
Absolutely. Man. But we do get to watch them duke it out over the course of, you know, the 15-minute sprint and the 1-hour feature coming up. So this is that, you know, the lap time shootout then turns into the duking out battle for first overall in both the sprint and the feature, which I think will be a fantastic run.
Austin Tucker to second.
Yeah, I think that'll make it even spicier as he celebrates by putting that car into the tire barrier. I think he's pretty happy with that result by the looks of that.
Alexander Bueller trying to improve. He'll miss the mark and be unable to get the time in. And I'm not seeing anybody else. Jeremy Castro looking like he's trying to improve, but his last several laps has not seen much. He currently sits 20th, 1.74 behind the leaders. Trying to gather it up. He does improve, but it will not be enough to improve him on the board. So that is it then. Qualifying draws to a close. Sebastian Close, the last driver to improve, as he will go and fire in a time that puts him a little bit further up the field at the 15th. But other than that, that is it then. Your field is set. And it's time for us to take a rundown of what your starter grid is going to look like for the first of our 2 races here this afternoon. Started on pole position, it is going to be the likes of Alex Cofford coming home number 1 with a last-minute run. Austin Tucker tries and may, only good enough for number 2. A valid effort as well from Kyle Blevins, who will slot into 3rd. Jason Lee got his time up there in 4th, was never able to best it from there. Scott Fleming in 5th with Jake Kasich back in 6th. From there, it's Chris Flams and Alexander Bueller 7th and 8th. And the top 10 closed out by Tom Madole and Chris Bright. The 2 drivers that currently sit on the invert spots are going to be Max Verstappen and Alex King. From there, it's Evan Campbell, Eric Ronenberg, Sebastian Close, Shane Cameron, Gabriel Gonzalez, Aaron Thacker, Ron Wolf, Jeremy Castro, Matthew Dupuis, Carson Catlin, Brooks Clayton, Blake Gambrell, Ryan Verhulst, Justin Brissy, Ben Williams, Tyler Carlton, Jordan Babcock, Greg Beckman, Adam Joseph Vailhot, Henry Morse, Giovanni Romano, Tyler Agostino, and Corey Barrett close out the field.
A very tight qualifying for all of these drivers, as it's a track that I think they are very familiar with. We were here just last season, but we also are here, I feel like, and a lot of officials and a lot of other leagues also go to it that some of these drivers also partake of. So I think we're going to see some very close battles between all of these drivers, between the heat and the feature. I think those Code 69s may come in very crucial to these drivers.
Just waiting now on drivers to grid on up, and then we'll get this show on the road. What do you reckon? Do we get a car flipped upside down here in the sprint?
I don't think so. Maybe in the future.
You think maybe in the future? We'll see as the revs are going to build. Sprint racing action is underway. One car doesn't go. We got a stall car. That's going to cause calamities. Hard hits into the fence. And for multiple, it's a pileup coming down towards turn number 1.
It is a pileup. I saw one car almost flip.
There's a few that got into the air.
Yeah, many in the air. None flipped over. And they all seem to be going the right direction. Henry Morris winning out on that battle pretty severely by the looks of it.
Yeah, kind of won that one pretty convincingly there as the field going to take off in towards turn numbers 3 and 4. Boy, the green flag drop. One car just did not go in the background, and it was on from there. And that ended up being quite the wild ride that we ended up having as we got Carson Catlin around and into the tires. That was down at turn 6. And now a couple of them going around up at the Corkscrew. But for now, up front, it's Crawford leading the way at the end of lap number 1.
Yeah, Crawford having a great run off the line. Austin Tucker about a second behind the rest of the field, all following suit. Pretty smooth sailing for a good portion of the front of the grid with spins here and there. Shane Cameron, Jordan Babcock having an unfortunate spin there at the hairpin. Shane Cameron, that driver that was had an issue at the beginning of the race, not getting that car underway, which I think we're going back to look at now. You should see that bright green and blue machine, I think, not go anywhere.
Yeah.
It stalls out and then gets collected there. And then from there, it's just calamity as all of these cars in the back half of the grid try to make their way around and bump into each other in the process.
Oh, it did go over.
And it did go over, but didn't stay there.
Yeah,
so,
that was Adam Joseph Vailhot that rolled his number 66.
That it was had a pretty successful otherwise, but then got collected right at the last second of this calamity that happened.
Just trying to get around. There's nothing you can do in that situation.
Nope, nothing to do, but landed on his feet. I feel like we're going to see a lot of that with this season. These cars seem to be like cats.
Yeah, well, one car off the road. That's Tom Madole spinning out by himself down to the tail end of the field. You know, that right there, though, that is why so many open wheel cars nowadays, they have anti-stall in places like F3, F2, F1, right? And it is for that exact reason why you have it, because when you stall a car on a standing start, it is just so terrifying to watch because there's nothing you as a driver can do except just hold on and just hope everyone sees you.
Yeah, that is the thing you have to worry about, is that they see you and that they understand that you're not going anywhere while they're trying to take in all the information, all the other cars around you, and then once you get that car going again, if you can, some of these in real life you can't. You just have to sit there and wait, and then safety car will come out, and then they'll get you collected and get back into it if you can.
Indy cars are so big for that, right? They don't have a full starter motor. Oh boy, Blake Gambrill looking like has gone pretty significantly into the wall. Take a look at what happened.
Yeah, I believe a pretty nasty snap of oversteer, trying to get through this corner. Gets on power there, gets on that gravel or grass outside of that, and that spins that car around, and then he just rides that into the barrier. No other cars involved. Fastest lap was by Kyle Blevins, but now Alex Crawford took that away.
Sure did. Alex Crawford is really pulling away early here with a 2-second advantage at the top of the field. As everyone else just looking to kind of cut through behind. A couple cars off the road, and one of them is Ronenberg.
Yeah, I believe that was also Chris Bright attached to that. I get the feeling Kyle Blevin wants to get around Austin Tucker to see if he can't take the fight to Alex Crawford here before the heat comes to a close.
Oh, wow. Bright just sent it on him.
Yeah, sent it on him and then gets right in that awkward spot in between the wheels, which is always hard to do when you put wheels with your car in between the wheels of another car, and someone's getting spun usually at that point.
Already a third of this race is behind us with only 10 minutes left to go. Austin Tucker is hanging on. It's really just a battle for second place on back at this point in time. Well, we're kind of going back on that. We haven't really seen a stalled car in the grid much, right? And I think that incident also demonstrates why a stalled car is so devastating in the midfield, because, you know, it's one of those cases where, yeah, one driver avoiding them usually isn't a problem. The problem comes when that stalled car is then shoved into the path of others, or perhaps even worse, the car that hits them ramps into somebody else, which is the case of what happened here.
Yeah, and then additionally, while they're trying to avoid the one car, they don't realize, or, you know, it gets lost in the kind of input of information the driver gets, where they, you know, they're trying to avoid the one car, but there's still a car right on their other side of the, you know, so as they move to avoid, they run into that other car. You saw that a good 2 or 3 times as well in that opening incident, where it's not even really that one car that is the incident at that point. It is the other cars here, as we have a couple more coming off. I think that was Tyler Carlton as well as one other.
Yeah, one or two other. Jake Kasich, I think, is the other one that went around here. Take a look back. Oh, Kasich caught the sausage curves big time. And it looks like Carlton made an identical mistake. Well, that's Bueller, sorry, that went off the road.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we talked about the sausage curves a lot at turn 6, right, in the Legends cars. They are even worse here, because at least those Legends cars, you can kind of hit them a little bit.
Yeah, while the suspension didn't really appreciate it, it also wouldn't, the car would be all right. The car would figure it out once it got through that. Here, it'll just send you on a journey where you become the passenger really quickly.
It's the equivalent of breaking on wet paint. It's not going to go well for you.
Yes. No.
I've had plenty of experiences with those curves. The one that has kind of finally taught me my lesson not to tempt fate with them was when I was running in the production car challenge race in an MX-5, and I hit the curve so hard that it actually broke the oil pan and gave me a meatball flag for it.
Man, I was just talking. Oh my gosh, Evan Campbell as well as Jake Kasich getting wrapped up in that incident.
Boy.
Too wide through the kink is never gonna work.
No, sir, it will not. And again, drivers finding that out the hard way.
See, Evan,
boy, it almost looked like the cameras going around before they even got into the corner.
I think he made that look, you know, that initial kind of turn, and, you know, Jake Kasich had no room for him there, and so that got spun. And I think netcode also helped them. You kind of saw that gap between them kind of get where it decided that they had touched, and then Evan got spun around as a result of it.
A hard hit into the wall while Jeremy Castro goes on offense here against Giovanni Romano as they try to slice and dice their way to the front. Further behind for 20th. We're seeing Verhulst and Beckman duke it out as well. And how about Ryan Verhulst getting collected?
Yeah, he's just going to get swarmed here with that off track slowing him down, and these 4 drivers behind him also wanting to get by. Jake Kasich looking to kind of recover what he can of that race amongst them.
It may not get points outside of the top 12, but it does still impact your starter position for the main event, which is why drivers continue to fight just as aggressively back here as trying to give them any kind of advantage. Look at Jake Kasich with a big run coming up the hill, sends her down the inside, and the Corkscrew is going to make it work. Beckman also loses out a spot to Shane Cameron, and now is under fire from Carson Catlin.
Yeah, Carson Catlin's going to get around pretty easily. Rainy Curve has one good way of going through it and one kind of slower way of going through it. And unfortunately, if you get pushed too wide, as Ryan Verhulst spins right in front of these drivers, it'll just be hard to get around with a meaningful way without just letting them by and then catching them trapped.
For 14th, Tom Badol secures the spot from Mac Verstappen. Oh, never mind. No, he does. Verstappen forces the door back open, coming back around into turn 3. And now he's going to make that look into 4. And he tries to pull away with the top spot. Right now, the transition point covered off by Aaron Thacker by 1.1 seconds from Eric Ronenberg.
Yeah, the top 12 pretty comfortably at least in the top 12 at the moment, unless they have an incident, which some of these drivers are narrowly close to each other. Tom Badol, both of them trying to not run into Eric Ronenberg. In the process, Eric Ronenberg locking up as they cut through the Corkscrew. And off track usually will bring a slowdown depending on how egregiously you go over it. So we'll see if Eric has to serve that before the end of the race here.
He's not showing any signs of slowing down. He may have been able to get away with it.
Oh, he lucked out. You can do it depending on where you get that off track for it. We'll have to see.
On board with Verstappen as he charges after Ronenberg. Looking to fight his way to 14th. Thought about going down the inside, and he is going to go for it as he forces Ronenberg to slip wide.
Yeah, Ronenberg comes wide, but now they're drag racing into turn number 3, technically. And a hard one to go too wide through. Same with turn number 4 here. That look off track there is going to unfortunately cost Mac more than he was looking to gain trying to get around Eric Ronenberg.
Yeah, that's going to get Bueller around him. Verstappen going to maintain his run in 16th for the time being. Agostino and Gabriel Gonzalez situated just behind him. Oh, and off the road. Patience is rewarded. Ronenberg makes a big mistake at 6.
Yeah, I think he got caught out there with not quite the sausage curb, but was on the curbing, and that can unsettle the car enough to cause a spin, depending on how well you work your way through that corner.
Chris Bright dropping all the way back to 12 as he nearly ran into the back of Castro and cut across the gravel trap, and that's what puts him now onto the bubble spot. Now, least amount of points, yes, for the sprint, but it does put him on pole for the main event, and as we've seen, that could be critical with Cofford out by 1.6 still.
Yeah, with Cofford still out by 1.6, it's going to be critical in terms of keeping that gap that he'll gain when the feature starts, and that flips him back to the top of the order.
Now that said, we have been seeing the gap closing in just a little bit more, and Tucker is around it into the wall.
Similar incident there, getting too early on the throttle there. We'll see it here. He's going to go through the kink. He's going to look like he's fine. He's going to get a little bit of spin there and then tries to correct it, and that snaps him off into the gravel there.
Again, another hard impact into the wall. Tom Badol goes off in the same corner, but he's going to be dropped out of the top 5. But, you know, with only about 2 laps to go here in the sprint, I do want to kind of bring notice of this. That gap, it's starting to close. Or at least it was.
Kyle Blevins, it was. It still kind of is. It's a little bit stagnant at kind of 2 seconds at the moment as Kyle Blevins and Alex Cofford trade which lap they have faster. As you can see over the last few laps, the change between the two of them. Kyle Blevins setting the fastest lap, especially when he had a great run and some draft help from Austin Tucker early on, and then has used that pass that he did in that lap to just kind of maintain second there.
Well, the fights continue on throughout the field at the moment. And all of a sudden, Crawford's going to lose it. Crawford goes off the racetrack, and he's going to lose the sprint race lead. And how much are you willing to bet that this is by design?
It is, I think, I don't know if
it's by design.
It looks like it.
It's by design.
Okay.
Boy, replicated that one wreck in the Super Trofeo Challenge of the Lamborghini from what, 2017 or 18 I'm thinking of?
I'm thinking it's 18, but I could say either year, and I feel like you
the one we went
get
for
the
a front flip after losing the brakes.
Yeah, lost the brakes into the corkscrew, has a front flip, a nasty wreck that I think the driver came away from, thankfully, relatively unscathed, thanks to the way those kind of crash cells are developed on most modern race cars.
Yeah, she did climb out of that car under her own power, as the broadcast had shown in that race. Thank goodness for that. Like you say, a lot of safety equipment goes into these cars, and especially that particular racetrack. I wanted to bet there's there's a whole separate safety crew dedicated just to that one corner alone, and for good reason.
Yeah, I believe so. It depends on which broadcast you look at. You'll see some kind of safety crew specifically planted at both the top and the bottom of that corner, because depending on where it is, it's easier for one crew to get to them versus the other.
Well, I mean, could you imagine having to run uphill to that? I mean, that would be a nightmare and a half.
Gosh.
Not to mention you'd be tripping over your feet trying to run downhill as well. But into the final couple of corners, is this going to be the final lap? It's going to be close. Not getting any white flag signal yet. And we'll just barely get one more in.
Yeah, beats buzzer beater ever so slightly. As we see Gabriel Gonzalez, I believe, having off there.
I would have slowed up to force it to be the final lap at that point. You got a 4-second gap.
Well, I mean, he may not know how many seconds he has. He's busy worrying about not crashing the car and staying in front here.
A battle for ninth is still on as Aaron Thacker trying to go around Jeremy Castro, looking to pick up one more position here. As they cruise into turn number 2 at the Andretti hairpin. And so far, that 4 remaining firmly positioned in ninth.
Yeah, that 4 car having a great run here so far. Chris Bright kind of arriving on scene, though, trying to see if he can get his way up the order back into some sprint racing points.
Oh, one car just looped it in the background. Doesn't look, though, like it was... no, that is a lap car that looped it in the background, so nothing to worry about there. How about Romano attacking Chris Flams? Meanwhile, Kyle Blevins wins the sprint race here this afternoon, but it's a hard-fought fight. Look at this into the corkscrew, and this is for the final spot to see who starts on pole.
Yeah, this is Alex Bueller currently leading this charge. It's got to be a fast couple corners here, and then he's going to have to fight off from the draft, but it looks like Tyler Acinni also trying not to run into Henry Morse there in the final closing corners.
And I think with that aggressive look, Alexander Bueller will be able to hang on, and he'll start on pole position here in just a little while. What a wild ride that one was, though, as we make that good old celebratory charge down to the turn 1.
Yeah, all those cars collecting and becoming a pile of parts in classic beer league fashion. I didn't have cars on top of one another in my bingo card, though.
We live for the old traditions. I mean, they are open wheel cars. I mean, it's pretty easy to get cars on top of each other here.
That's fair. I did see one upside down, so I think I was mistaken.
There's been a few of them upside down, but not nearly as many as I thought there would be, though, interestingly enough.
I feel like they always seem to want to land on their feet.
Yeah. I mean, it's good for them in the race. Not so much that they're trying to celebrate after the race. But, well, race number 1 is in the books here this afternoon, and we are going to take ourselves a quick step back. More action coming up in just a moment when we return on Green Flag TV. Stay with us.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Green Flight TV, where we are moments away from returning to racing action here for the Beer League on Wednesday night. What a wild ride that was in the sprint, and an hour of main event action. Coming on up in just a few moments, Fen.
An hour of racing, I think, will be a fun, enjoyable ride here, especially if we get a code 69. I think we're going to have a pretty tight battle between Alex Cofford as well as Kyle Blevins for that, depending on where Alex Cofford decides to start, either from the pit lane or from the race, in terms of the final positioning they have over laps and laps.
Of course, this past time around was quite the interesting start, and we'll talk more about that in just a little while. For now, it's time to see who's going to start where, as we look set to duke it out for main event action. Starting on pole position then here this afternoon. It is going to be the likes of Alexander Bueller, who came home #1 after quite a lion defense of the Corkscrew at the end of the sprint. He'll start alongside Chris Bright. Row 2 headed up by Aaron Thacker and Jeremy Castro. From there, you're going to have Chris Flams and Giovanni Romano. The likes of Ron Wolf and Austin Tucker bring it up in 7th and 8th. And then, of course, Alex King, Scott Fleming for 9th and 10th. And then, of course, it is the sprint race winner and runner-ups, Jason Lee and Kyle Blevins. Back to the field then, it's Tyler Augustino, Henry Morris, Matt Verstappen, Jake Kasich, Sebastian Close, Brooks Clayton, Greg Beckman, Tyler Carlton, Gabriel Gonzalez, Blake Gambrill, Tom Adol, Matthew Dupuis, Shane Cameron, Evan Campbell, Corey Barrett, Ben Williams, Eric Ronneberg, Carson Catlin, Ryan Verhulst, Justin Brissy, Jordan Babcock, Alex Cofford, and one Adam Joseph Mailhot to close out the field. Well, Finn, first run in the new run. Shane Cameron started in 25th place, stalled the car, caused about an 8-car pileup with one going upside down to the front straightaway. Do you reckon that happens this afternoon with another driver, or have the lessons been learned?
I think the lessons have been learned for Shane Cameron. I think everybody else will be on edge to not mess it up. I think we might see, if anything, a spin of being too aggressive, but I think it's very hard to do in these Super Formula lights anyway, so I'm not sure it's one we'll see right at this moment as we get ready to go racing.
Getting set to go here this afternoon. We still do not have any official word on whether or not drivers are going to be successfully gridding that up. Of course, people like Alex Cover, we're expecting to start this race from pit road. Might be the same for Bueller. Romano for sure will start this race from pit road. Henry Morris is just gridded up, then waiting on Dupuis and Barrett.
A few drivers left before we see them go racing. I think it's going to be a few drivers here that will do the usual start from pit lane.
And here we go, the Revs going to build. And it's go, go, go! No stalls this time off the line as drivers scramble down towards turn #1. Chris Bright did not get the best of launches because he has got an attack from the bottom. Aaron Thacker down the inside of the Andretti hairpin. He is through. We're looking for 3, almost 4 wide deeper in the field, but we make it through turns 1 and 2 clean.
We do indeed. Turn number 3 looking like it's going to be clean as well, but still drivers figuring out where they want to be, left or right or center. Aaron Thacker and Chris Flam both getting around Chris Bright there, so going to be a bit of a recovery drive for Chris Bright to maintain his pole position into a win. But the rest of the field seems to be going the right direction.
The rest of the field.
Tight set of battles.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. A tight set of battles all the way up and down the order as we get through turn number 1.
Down the Rahal straight and headed up towards the Corkscrew for the first time here this afternoon. A couple of cars going around and off the road. No issues so far for the lot, but everyone else firing down the hill through the Corkscrew. A couple of cars going off the road, and we've got a mess with several of them around and just piling in here.
And they're just continuing to pile into each other, as we saw. So there's cars left and right of that Corkscrew trying to get untangled and push back the right direction. Ryan Verhulst pushing Blake Gambrell back onto the track and then getting run into by, I believe that was Corey Barrett amongst them.
Yeah, quite a sizable tangle up at the top of the Corkscrew there. And I know for a fact not the way a good chunk of this field was looking set to kick things off. But hey, such is the way that Laguna Seca is, right? It tends to have that effect. Chris Flams takes the race lead back from Aaron Thacker. And we'll dare to jump back and take a look on what happened coming up the hill towards turn number 8.
I think it was, if I recall correctly, in the Corkscrew, a small slight spin, and then just chaos erupts as they all try to avoid that spin. Jason Lee and a few others there all taking that runoff to the right in the gravel there, and then more that are just arriving on scene, getting caught together and running over each other in the process there.
No one went over, though, so we still have not had our actual racing flip in the course. So we had Alex Cover. I don't think that counts on the sprint race when you're trying to take yourself out in spectacular fashion. So overall, I mean, a bit of melee in the opening run, but I mean, not as worse as it could have been.
Absolutely not. And I think it's so far been pretty smooth sailing. Also, to be fair, Alex Cover did land on his feet when he did that intense race flip. Oh, Alex Cofford getting really loose there in the background. I'm looking a little ways down the order, but the rest of the field still going the right direction.
Oh, hold on. Contact between Catlin and Gonzalez there for 21st as it went through the Andretti hairpin. They're able to more or less gather it up. Top 3 on a breakaway. Austin Tucker right now leading the train for 4th. That stretches all the way back to 13th.
Yeah, the train back to 13th. You can see them nose to tail, the snake of cars going through the kink now, trying to find a little bit of gap that they can to stick a nose in, forcing a good run out of the corkscrew, ideally without running into anybody this time.
Alex King not fortunate enough. He's going to be going around, and that's going to cost him spots back to Shane Cameron. What an improvement for Shane Cameron, right? Stalled the car to kick things off, and now all the way up at the head of this field. Meanwhile, Dupuy has gone off. That's at the top of the hill. Able to wrangle it back together, though.
That gets that car back the right direction. Sebastian Close also having an off there. I'm not sure if they're related. I have to go back and double check. But they both get those cars going the right direction.
And so, with more drivers all under a blanket, it's going to be a hard-fought fight for most here this afternoon. And if you're just tuned in for the Premier Sim Racing Sim Gaming Expo Truck Series from Lucas Oil Raceway, well, welcome on board. It's been quite the ride so far. One big pile up. It was at the top of the Corkscrew lap number 1. In the sprint race, we had one car stall, which caused one car to flip upside down, and another pile up. Otherwise, that's been a pretty run-of-the-mill beer league race so far. Here's a look to the inside. That is Brooks Clayton attacking cars in Catlin. Oh, he's going to slide it, though.
It's going to be a slide there. Going to cause that wing to fall off, which will cause a little bit of issue there as he bumps over the curbing. Gets it going back again just before the kink. So this might be a little bit of an interesting spot, depending on where he catches it. I believe that's Matthew Dupuy sliding off in front of him.
And he's not the only one. He's got Jordan Babcock off the road as well. And he's going to drag all that gravel back onto the racetrack. Austin Tucker resets fastest lap of the race.
That he does. He is being chased by a Kyle Blevins as well as the rest of the field. So he's going to keep trying to move forward as these two swap positions here. Leave. Alex King getting around Jimmy Castro.
And that is, like you say, Alex King making that move happen. Meanwhile, the Code 69 period is officially open this afternoon, so we can get up to 2 between now and 15 minutes to go. So the battle for 10th rages on.
Yeah, this battle for 10th, I think, will continue on for a little while longer, especially as both have had pretty consistent lap times, or I believe as well the rest of the field getting around to take that fight back for P10. Maybe a bit of a tall order depending, but just ahead of both of them is going to be Mac Verstappen, who's now under fire from Alex King.
Oh, but King nearly took himself and Verstappen out there, was forced to go evasive in the penultimate corner, and that's caused him to slide back towards Tyler Carlton, who was also trying to claw his way back through the field. So Verstappen's got quite the train starting to form up.
Yeah, and Mac Verstappen, I think, has the lap time there when that car is behaving with him, but it's not a car that he's enjoying as much as I think he was in the sprint race with that fuller fuel load to work with. I think it'll be a bit of a harder ask to set the same lap times. Both Jeremy Castro and Alex King going off the road there right behind him. Causing that door to open back up for Alex King to get around Jeremy Castro once again.
So King makes the move on Castro. As the field slides through turn 6 and back up the hill. Does King have a look? Oh, Verstappen, he sure does. Down the inside of the course, he locks up. They're both off the road. Verstappen forced to cut the track. That's going to be a slowdown for sure. Alex King takes away 9th. But in controversial fashion, I know Mac is not going to be a happy camper with that one.
I would have to imagine Mac Verstappen is very upset about the way that that went down. I know that I would be if, you know, the driver that lunged up the inside ends up collecting me, but he'll get that car going back the right direction and doesn't lose too much time, thankfully.
Well, King very much up the road. Jeremy Castro was able to fight through on Verstappen as well. Now Carlton's going to try to go down the inside. So the number 5 just hemorrhaging spots now as he tries to maintain his run through turn 3. And he does. So Carlton not able to complete the move. One drive that is going on offense. How about Jason Lee going after Shane Cameron in 4?
Yeah, Jason Lee getting that move done, as well as Tom Madole and Giovanni Romano also looking to see if they can get around Shane Cameron before the kink here. That's 2 wide for Tom Madole and Giovanni Romano. Giovanni Romano slides back in. He doesn't want to try to test that, especially not with a teammate.
You saw Max Verstappen being forced to lift as well just up the road as Carlton went around the outside of him in a 6, and now again another big lockup coming down into the corkscrew. A few drivers kind of hopping over it there. They're able to gather it up, and Lee forced to stay behind Verstappen for now.
Yeah, Jason had a little bit of a lockup there, which cost him the time he was looking to get by getting around the outside. Max Verstappen able to get that car going back the right direction, thankfully. And seems to be at least hanging out with Tyler Carlton here now that he's got that car on him.
A huge 8-car battle for the number 11 spot right now. And Carlton very much a cork in the bottle, locking up big time into the Andretti hairpin as Verstappen try to fight back to him. Alex Cofford, who is on his track to do his last first challenge, unfortunately going around. And it is by his own making at the top of the corkscrew.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of a look there earlier, but he finally had a spin there this time by. So it'll be a last to first challenge with an extra spin there to make it an extra hard challenge this time around. Oh, Jason Lee running off there as well.
Yeah, gonna drop 1 or 2 spots out here as a result. Up front, Jake Kasich and Henry Morse going to go side by side in the final quarter. Morse able to secure 6th place. Good effort from him. And meanwhile, this fight for 12th now remaining tight is, well, now Verstappen's the one that's being caught as Carlton started to pull away.
Yeah, Carlton started to pull away. You saw that big snap there for Max Verstappen. I don't think that car is quite working the way he wants it to. And I think the rest of the field is watching it, hoping they don't get collected. If it gets worse, there's a lockup there from Shane Cameron as he gets really close to the tail end. Max Verstappen's super Formula Light.
That's going to allow Romano to try to go around the outside at turn 3. Couldn't get the job done. So hard to sling the momentum around the outside there in open wheel machinery of this speed. So he's forced to yield. Tabadol. I think more going on defense from Williams than he is trying to attack Giovanni Romano. That wasn't really a look to the inside of, I'm going to go and make that move. That was more of a, don't you think about it. I still want to retain that position.
Yeah, that was definitely one of, I would like to stay where I'm at. Please don't try to take this too wide, especially not through the kink, which is always a rough spot. We've seen it happen in the sprint. Thankfully, we've not seen it yet, but I'm sure we will before the evening's over. It's not one that really pays off for anybody involved.
Kyle Blevins resetting the fastest lap of the race. And this battle continues to be the one to watch. One of the tighter battle packs on the racetrack. Just behind them, Scott Fleming loses out. Going to take one over from Chris Flams. And, well,
got it.
I'll tell you what, Romano's having a go at it, but now Verstappen's actually run down Carlton again.
Yeah, when that car is working for Max Verstappen, it looks like it's working really well. It just seems like it has this idea that it doesn't fully like the driving style just yet, and he's still, I think, working really hard to get that car going the right direction.
So the field going to keep working it. Shane Cameron, again, going defensive from Romano. That's only costing him time as he looks to run down Verstappen up the road. And oh boy, Romano right to the gearbox of Cameron there and nearly ran him over.
Yeah, we saw Shane Cameron almost do that to Max Verstappen just a moment ago. And now Giovanni Romano, I guess, returning the favor, kind of, as we read along board there. It is definitely...
Oh, there he goes.
Shane Cameron. And Giovanni Romano gets that place done. Tom Madole also sneaking through. Shane Cameron's got to pick up that draft to try to keep that spot from sliding any further back.
Oh, Carter's been taken out by Verstappen into turn 1.
I'm super curious how that develops.
Matt Verstappen made the look, and I think either a late block or he just made the look too late. This is on board of the roll bar, the number 5. He just made such a late lunge.
Yeah. And almost spins it, trying to keep that car going the right direction.
Well, Mac retains 11th. Romano right to the back of him, and he's going to swoop around him up the Rahal straight.
Yeah, Tom Madole not getting as lucky as Giovanni Romano is, but we'll see now that Mac kind of doesn't have a dance partner, if that changes how, well, before he didn't, how that changes, and if he can keep up the momentum again.
Well, they're going to just work the problem right now, and the problem very much the track around them with how aggressive of a race this has been so far. How about Jason Lee trying to go around the outside of Ben Williams at turn 1? That'll turn into the inside for turn 3, and he's got it secured.
Yeah, it does have it secured for the moment. See if he's able to keep it there, though. Nice long straight here where the draft does come into effect a little bit. See, Ben Williams wants to have a look back around. Jason Lee chooses not to.
You also saw Justin Mercy going for a lazy slide as well. The final quarter moments ago, Chris Bright going to lose out. May have overshot the, I think he actually has overshot it a little bit. Ron Wolf into the wall.
Oh. Yeah, it's Ron Wolf into the wall. Chris Bright having a look there as well. Just the slowest slide.
Oh, he kept it out of it, actually. Good job.
Giovanni Romano looking to get around Jeremy Castro as well. Taking that outside line. Mac Verstappen trying to see if he can keep up with him.
A fantastic battle that these guys are having here for the time being, as Jeremy Castro hanging on from Mac Verstappen. Still, these guys have been absolutely on top of each other for a good while now. Verstappen looking to make that lunge. Can't get him into turn 6. But maybe up the road down into the corkscrew. Well, not so far.
Not so far, but there was a brief lockup for Jeremy Castro into that corkscrew. So I think Mac Verstappen smells the blood in the water. He's just waiting for that opportunity to get around him as they both come across a lap down Adam Joseph Mailhot, who's had a bit of a rough race after the start.
Tabadol on defense. Shane Cameron trying to go around the long way. Good turn 1. Does he have the look? Does he have the overspeed on the exit? He might have him. No! Thought for a moment he'd get him. He did not, though.
Oh, Jeremy Castro goes off. Excuse me, Adam Joseph Mailhot goes off right in front of them. Unfortunate, but did not get that look done.
Thacker on a massive send coming down towards the corkscrew there. Great save, though. Take a ride on board.
This pass, he had just gotten passed as well by Austin Tucker. Had tried to not lock it up, running into the rear end there. Keeps that car going the right direction. Unfortunately, that costs time for.
Oh boy! Oh, what in the world is happening here?
No.
These guys are 3 wide on the exit of the corkscrew. How the heck has that happened?
Gosh. How the heck?
Shane Cameron going around. Tom Madole collected as well. They both went hard into the concrete. And while that has effectively shattered their momentum and really broken up that big battle pack that we had going, not to say that they're not having to go at it still, as Henry Morse is at it, and Code 69 is kicking off.
Yeah, we see Henry Morse diving into pit lane, Sebastian Close as well. We'll probably see some more drivers. Ron Wolf also diving in. That 3 wide there that we saw just a moment ago, Jeremy Castro having a bit of a rough entry. Matt Verstappen ended up having a slower run, trying to not hit him. And in all of that, Tom Middle trying to find the actual racing line amongst all that, and that has pushed them all 3 wide. And somewhere in there, Shane Cameron, ended up in the middle of it.
Chris Flams, the race leader, will not come down to pit road, but his 3-second gap will be obliterated as he will retain the lead at the start of the Code 69 period. He'll slow down to 100 kilometers an hour. Meanwhile, Jason Lee trying to hang on for Verstappen for the final spot inside the top 10. Now again, the question, will these guys come down to pit road? We already saw King make his way in this time by.
That's going to be a no, it looks like, by both of these drivers. A big portion of the field, including these ones, most of the front runners, minus Alex King, have not come in.
Alex King is one of the drivers that made it in. This is going to be that moment that happened coming down the straightaway here. There you see the lockup, the twitch, and then 3 wide of the exit. The corkscrew doesn't tend to work very well.
Yeah, and Todd trying to get into the draft of Max Verstappen is how he ended up getting collected with Shane Cameron there.
Well, what the car was kind of getting to the rep stop, didn't they, when the bottles got kind of tangled together there?
Yeah. And it just seemed like the grass of 4 cars along with contact seemed to just plow them into a stopping position very quickly.
Well, first Code 69 of the afternoon will look to take just a quick jump back, and when we return, there'll be more action on Green Flag TV. One this moment, it'll be side by side.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Green Flag TV. Code 69 is still active here this afternoon. If you're just tuning in, my name is Rempel alongside Acinni. We bring you all of racing action for round 2 of the beer league. It's the Corkscrew Booze Cruise of the Weathertech Raceway, Laguna, Seca. Still anticipated there to be maybe one more lap of slow running here before we'll get this race back underway. Of course, the clock does still tick away under these code 69s. We have the potential to get one more. It has to come out any time between now and the next 20 minutes and 50 seconds, give or take. So kind of loosely might get one, but I don't know, it's kind of 50-50 right now.
I think it will be about 50-50. My guess is that we're going to see a one stop out of all of these drivers, which is why most of them haven't come in yet. But those that have come in, I think will be okay to the end of the race.
Well, you can see pretty much most of the field has caught up to the tail of the pacing line. Now, there are a few still situated in pit row, but otherwise, mostly everyone has formed up, which means we should be getting back to racing here pretty shortly. Of course, that's how the random code 69s work. You give it a lap or two to let people catch back up, get pit stops done, wave lap cars around, whatever you got to do, and then you go from there. Ron Wolf and Chris Bright just exited pit road, having taken pit stops under this latest code 69. Right now, just over half of this 1 hour main event remaining with 35 minutes and just over 40 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, so we'll have to see when they go racing again. It's going to be, I think, a mad dash for positions. I'm interested to see if Kyle Blevins can get around Austin Tucker earlier rather than later, because it seems to be that he just has a little more pace than Austin Tucker does.
Kyle Blevins has been slowly kind of chipping away at the front runners when we went green. And no doubt going to look to potentially do the same here. Still no sign on whether that this 69 period is coming to a close.
I think we are getting it ready. It's going to end soon.
There it is. Code 69 is ending. And we are looking to go back to green flag racing here this afternoon. Chris Flams jumps immediately on the loud pedal and already pulls out by almost a full second in the run down to the Andretti hairpin. Kyle Blevins immediately mobs Austin Tucker for second.
A fantastic launch from Kyle Blevins, getting that move done nice and early. Now you can just kind of focus on catching back up to Chris Flams, excuse me. Aaron Thacker also looking to get back around Austin Tucker here on the restart. Jake Kasich up 11 positions and off the road, but trying to get around as well. So many fantastic jumps.
Aaron Thacker still hunting for that final podium position. A few cars have gone around to the back. It's a big mess coming out of turn 4. That is what Carson Catlin off the road, Corey Barrett off the road, along with others.
Yeah, Ryan Verhulst, Alex Cofford, both individuals caught up in that pretty seriously as well. Those two last ones we saw getting going the right direction.
The field makes their way down the hill through the corkscrew. Oh, whoa, one car up into the air.
Oh my gosh.
Tom Badol with a big ride as he took flight and nearly went on top of the tire barriers. Oh, and someone else just got nicked in the middle there.
Yeah, many cars
in
the corkscrew.
Now that one's south in a hurry. We'll take a look at a few of the incidents that have just happened here. This was the incident happened with the car St. Catlin. This is coming around. Oh, just off the road. Oh, there's other cars. Cars behind them actually going off. That was Alex Crawford that was off the road. And, well, not able to quite get a look there, but this is, oh, boy. Well, that was in progress, and this is going to be at speed.
Yeah, you'll see this at speed here. It's going to be a pretty interesting one. A bit of a mix-up here from a couple of the drivers prior to this. And Tom Badol goes for a very fantastic ride. Brooks Clayton, Tyler Carlton
right there
get into each other here.
Ooh.
And then you'll see Tom Badol just have a sweet pop shove it flat spin when his wheel collects with Tyler Carlton.
Yeah, then of course you got drivers here just, oh man, and That was Ryan Verhulst that got nicked there. And while all this is going on, Austin Tucker is now dropped back 15. He has spun out of the third place. And that came...
Tucker, I think, also came with him.
Right there, off the road. Spears off into the tires, and no sign of Thacker.
Excuse me. Thacker had his own incident prior.
Well, back to live pictures as the battle for sixth continuing to heat up. Once again, Tyler Augustino finds himself at the head with Jason Lee. Another cork in the bottle. They've got Williams, Ronneberg, Thacker, Verstappen, King, and more all starting to file up behind.
Yeah, we'll see how this train of cars develops as they find pace here. All the ones behind Tyler Augustino getting a little bit of help in the straight line speed, but they still need to have that car planted under them, that dirty air. Not as impactful as it is in some Formula machinery, so thankfully pretty easy to keep these cars underneath you as you go through the more high speed, high downforce turning sections, even with the dirty air of the car in front of you.
So much gravel being kicked up on the front straightaway there as Chris Flams again resets the fastest lap of the race. Not pulling away, though. He does have Kyle Blevins just 0.6 of a second behind him trying to close.
Yeah, up until his most recent lap that he set as the best lap, Kyle Blevins had been a little bit faster pretty much consistently since the restart, and even a little ways beforehand. But I think we'll see that gap continue to close as Kyle Blevins has this machine well and truly underneath his feet.
And behind, Augustino seeking a move with Jason Lee off the road. In front is Chris Bright. And Bright with that big mistake in turn 6 is going to drop all the way back into this battle for fifth now.
Yeah, it was battling alongside Giovanni Romano, just overshot a little bit into the kink there at turn 6. And that caused him to lose all those positions behind him.
And now right at the halfway point, Kyle Blevins looks set to try and go to the front.
Oh.
He was the runner-up in in fact, he was the pulse. He was the race winner from the sprint, and now he's to the lead as he gets around Chris Flams.
That he is. And now he made that look extremely easy with that late braking into the Andretti hairpin, but that is a perfect spot for those kind of moves should you get it done, and the room being given to you by the cars around you. Chris Bright trying to get around back for Verstappen now into turn 4.
Oh, forces the number 5 car out wide. Now looking for 3 wide down the straightaway. Ben Williams around the outside trying to go for 2. It's not going to happen.
And in the middle of that, Kyle Blevins immediately loses his spot at the lead by spinning and turning 5. I am not kidding you.
Oh my gosh.
That car that you see in the background of that shot now is Kyle Blevins.
It all just kicks off at once. Eric Ronneberg still trying to make that launch happen. Down into... Oh, one car up into the air. Holy cow. Ronneberg pops a wheelie coming down into the corkscrew. He's able to gather it up. No slowdown given to the 017. That lets Kyle Blevins now fight back to the inside. And here comes Alex King now trying to secure another.
Yeah, Alex King trying to get around as well. Both of them getting through as they dive into the pit lane. Austin Tucker as well as Chris Bright, all coming in for this pit stop that they still need to take. Like I said, that should be a one-stopper from here to the end. They should be fine.
Holy cow. Well, that all kicked off there all at once for a few seconds. Critical errors made by some drivers around the field. One of those was Kyle Blevins. This is how he lost the lead.
You'll see it here coming into turn 5. And he just loses it. Just he puts too much rotation into those tires and doesn't get on the throttle to keep it going the right direction, nor does it slow down enough, and it just slowly spins up.
Now, Augustino hounding the back of Chris Flams. He wants to try to make a rumble as well. Oh, a couple of cars around at 6. Thacker and Lee both into the wall.
Yeah, they both unfortunately come together. And as we were talking about all of this, Chris Flams, who was in first, now is in third, had a spin on turn 10.
My.
Oh, my God.
Holy cow. So that started with Jason Lee up the road, who spun.
Yes.
And unfortunately, Thacker went off the road in sympathy and just plows right into him.
You're at the point of where you are with Aaron Thacker making contact with Jason Lee there. Aaron Thacker is also a passenger because pretty much once that car gives up grip, it gives it up and completely at that speed. So it just has no room. You know, you can try to correct it, but it's not going to correct so much. You'll probably see that counterlock there, and then it just snaps on him.
Goodness gracious, a vicious T-bone shot for Jason Lee. Meanwhile, I mean, heck, Kyle Blevins isn't complaining. He's now out of the battle pack and is now trying to battle his way back into a top 5.
I'd say he has a pretty good run here into the top 5, trying to get around Ben Williams. Which Ben Williams, I think, is not. It's kind of surprised. He's like, I went from 10th to 5th in 2 corners. What happened?
Tucker down the inside of Chris Bright. He's going to secure 22nd. And I think with all of that carnage over the last little while, finally, well, I say that, finally some things are starting to get themselves sorted, unless you're the likes of Alex King, apparently.
Yeah, Alex King, as well as I believe the lap traffic of Corey Barrett.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, just got caught up there. Was not expecting that car to be as slow as it was. Another Code 69 coming out at the end of the lap 26.
Sure is. So at the end of this lap, we will be getting ourselves in our second Code 69 of the race, and this will be the final period of slow that we'll have tonight. From here, it is go to the end.
Yeah, I think all those drivers that have not taken their pit stops yet we're waiting for this to come out, and they're now going to probably dive into pit lane. We'll see Jake Kasich here, who's leading, as well as Chris Flams, Tyler Agostino, and the rest of the top drivers that have not pitted yet. Ben Williams also amongst them as Kyle Blevins fights him for this position, goes for the switchback into the corkscrew, gets that pass done. So textbook.
That was beautifully executed there from Kyle Blevins. We are absolutely going to look at that again once we slow this down here. Jake Kasich coming down to pit road. I don't think drivers can make it on fuel, so they're taking this chance to get down, top it up, and then go the distance.
Well, Jake Kasich, Chris Flams, Tyler Agostino, Kyle Blevins, Ben Williams, none of them have pit yet. So these are all their first pit stops, I believe, even for, I believe, Giovanni Romano, who technically has his second pit stop, but that is because he started from pit lane. So these are all drivers who have not come in yet.
Critically, Jake Kasich will retain the lead of the race despite the Code 69 as he exited pit road before it could really come into effect. I don't know if they'll give it to Scott Fleming or not, but right now that Code 69 is active, and someone needs to be letting Fleming know that he needs to be slowing it down here.
I'm not sure Fleming knows.
I think he's not running that race pace. I think he's getting conflicting instructions there, right? Because, I mean, I don't think he should be in the lead. I wonder if it's trying to wave him up and around. Now he's slowing it down. There we go.
I think he just wasn't quite sure what was happening here.
Take a ride on board here with Kyle Blevins. And this absolutely textbook maneuver here.
Has a great run running into the corkscrew. You'll see him have the look on the outside here. He brakes later. Ben Williams trying to defend the position, brakes a little later than he should have, and ends up running too wide. Kyle Blevins just uses that opening that gets opened up on the inside there and slides through.
That was beautifully executed. That is about as clean of a move into the corkscrew as you could possibly make. Force your opponent to outbrake themselves and just slip on through, taking about as close to the racing line as you dare.
It is one of my favorite things to see happen or be in the driver's seat on either side, because it's always, you see it happen when you're, the driver in the front of that is in the defense. And you're just like, oh man, they played that so perfectly, and I had this brief moment of mistake that they have capitalized on. But also in the inverse, when you're Kyle Blevins in that situation, you go, let me see how far I can push him before he makes that mistake, and then I can just pick up the pieces and keep running.
Corey Barrett has got a Our first, been the first driver to be caught for the incident limit here this afternoon. Now, my question is, you're under a code 69. How the hell have you managed that?
I am also curious how he managed that.
I want to find out, frankly.
Well, let's go find out.
Let's go.
I know he
We
had
got
it.
time. Where are you?
What is happening here?
Who is this is Tyler Carlton. What?
Okay.
What in the world is going on at the top of the corkscrew? I think this is...
I don't know.
No, this is Corey Barrett.
Oh.
What? No, that's Corey... What? I am...
Okay.
I am at a loss for words. I think that was Carlton who we were on board with. It was...
Yeah, okay.
What on earth has happened here?
Well, yeah, that's where he ends up. That is so that is
Yeah,
pretty much
that's after the fact.
Barrett. Yeah, that is. Oh, goodness.
I'm. She's still upside down. What? How have you managed to do that? The code 69 is out. We are not racing. Code 69 is out at this point in time.
They were trying to get back onto the lead lap. Oh, bumped into Eric Ronenberg there.
Holy cow. The amount of rollovers that man had. And then, of course, this is now at 2 times the speed as Ronenberg is, I think, felt bad. He's trying to... This is now at 4 times the speed. Trying to...
Oh.
You were saying earlier about how these cars like to end up on their wheels. Apparently, Carl just didn't get the memo. There's the field going
you
by.
add?
Here comes Carson Catlin to help.
Not
quite.
I think
Oh my
you add in a
gosh.
little elevation, and now it's just they don't.
Cue the Benny
It
Hill
stops
theme.
there. Oh.
They still didn't make it work. No,
Oh
please.
my God!
There
maybe,
we go.
Maybe? Oh, wonderful.
That is unreal. I'm going to look back at that
Oh.
again. This is going to be the initial incident. I want to see how many times this car went over here. I've never seen something like that in my life.
Oh man, it's been a while since I've seen something like that. Bumps hard into a very stopped
1,
Eric Ronenberg.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yep.
All right, so there's 6. So we got 6.5. Now, the crash isn't technically over yet. We're at 6.5. Just keep that in mind.
Got it.
We're still at 6.5. Still at 6.5. He hasn't rolled over yet. Still 6.5. Still 6.5. We're at the 4 cars in the wreck now. Still 6.5. Right. I can't.
Oh,
We'll just say 10 and call it a day.
I think 10's a good number. I have not seen 10 in a single incident before. That is still, I think, a new record of how many flips I've seen for a car.
Shockingly, I have seen it as little as 2 weeks ago, actually. Before the Boys Racing League, we had somebody lose their monitor, slam into the inside wall in a car of tomorrow and go tumbling 13 times through the trial of a press. I'll need to show you that afterwards. It's one of the wildest flips we have ever seen on this channel.
Yes, please. That sounds ridiculous.
Oh, it was. That's impressive that it took that long to get it flipped over. Back when we were on the SCCA Spec Racer Fords, had an incident at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve where it took them a whole green flag lap to get the car flipped over back onto his wheels. This one tops that because it took a whole lap under code 69 speeds.
And then we're going back to green flag racing right as we're done talking about it.
Tell you what, great time killer on that one. Thank you to... we already got one sideways at the back of the field here. Tom Mandol on the backslide, and he's going to loop it again. So far, so good, though, elsewhere in the field as we drive her back into turn 1.
And with those stops, Jake Kasich getting the lead of the race. He's going to probably drive away with it. The rest of the field's following suit as Tyler Agostino gets spun around by Kyle Blevins.
Into the wall. Rear wing gets clipped back on because remember, no damage in this championship. Allows these cars to keep going. And it's just a 17-minute dash from here to the end now. Whatever happens, happens. There's no more Co 69s to help stack you up again.
Off. Shane Cameron also off. Yeah. No more safety nets. Kyle Blevins going too wide with Henry Morse.
No dramas this time around through the Corkscrew. A couple drivers went side by side, but nobody actually getting sent spinning around for a change.
Yeah, Jason Lee getting smoked wide there. You saw him leave shot. He was unassisted. Gets that car going back the right direction. Good launch from the top three to be separate of the rest of this pack that we're kind of looking at here as so Ron Wolf, I believe, braking really late there.
Yeah, Ron Wolf jammed on the binders, and now he's got Matt Verstappen hounding them on the left-hand side. Austin Tucker filling up the mirrors. Tucker trying to look to the inside, can't get there through turn 4.
Trying to go into the spot where Ron Wolf wasn't, but Ron Wolf trying to avoid Matt Verstappen, who had just come back into the racing line. So as they're doing all this, they're losing time to Ben Williams, who's up the road trying to chase down Henry Morse.
Henry Morse retains his spot. Meanwhile, oh my goodness gracious, the massive fight down through the Corkscrew. They're able to get it sorted. No contact between the two. Tucker secures him for Verstappen, while King's going to lose out to Flams.
Yeah, Chris Flams getting it done there, but Agostino getting caught up in the crosshairs of all this, having to force to take a small or less ideal run, but there's a wide run for Chris Flams, who's now cutting off, trying to get behind Agostino. Alex King having to try to figure out his own way around.
Verstappen also looking to attack Austin Tucker, looking for 3 wide into turn 1. They're able to get it back down to double as Alex King comes out the victor on top of that fight.
That he does, comes out on top for the moment. Chris Flams not happy with where he's sitting, though. He's going to keep moving to try to get up and down the order.
Off the road, Austin Tucker and Ron Wolf going to exchange spots. Tucker puts himself in the head of the field.
Fantastic late lunge for Austin Tucker, gets him up there, running as wide as he's allowed to run without causing issues there. Scott Fleming setting his fastest lap of the race.
Oh boy. Nearly a hit into the gearbox there. As Chris Flams really wants to try and claw his way back through the field. And the 137 keeps the fight going.
Fight going as close as he did. There's such a long line of cars behind them. Ron Wolf and Austin Tucker kind of at the sharp end of the stick at the moment as Matt Verstappen lunges up the inside, and we see that finishing out from where they are. Diego Gonzalez getting around Alex King, excuse me. Oh, that's Matt Verstappen off the road there.
Man, I mean, the front runners have always broken away, but this fight for like 9th on back has just never been able to get away from each other. And it's always these massive battle packs, and they're going to keep like this until someone goes spinning around.
Wide into the kink, excuse me? Oh.
And that went about as well as you can expect.
Yeah, but nobody explicitly crashed. It was a few off tracks, but it thankfully sorted itself out before it became a massive incident.
King and Wolf make door-to-door contact. Well, wheel-to-wheel contact, if anything, and that lets King get out in front. Boy, doors, fenders, wheels, hard to tell sometimes with these open-wheel cars. There's a late lunge to the inside as Flams looks to attack Chris Bright.
Yeah, but he's going to have a compromised exit as a result. Chris Bright not having a great exit himself, though. And Matt Verstappen kind of boxed in, unfortunately, with the draft, which will help him be faster. I think he's kind of above draft, maybe. Chris Flams just a little bit.
Well, so far, so good, as the field is continuing to make these big sends here. cruising back up and down the back straightaway, and now looking for the dive into turn number 5, looking for 6. We're going to go double file into the kick again, aren't we?
Oh my goodness, they started out before they get to it, thankfully, but it was looking like it for a very solid moment as they are still trying to figure out where they want to be in this field. And 2 wide into the course.
Hold on,
3 wide
Bright.
as
Chris Bright sent to the shadow realm on the outside of the corkscrew.
yeah, avoiding Matthew Dupuis, I believe, in all of that chaos, and just abandons the corner. Has to pick up the pieces as he regains that car.
This is the look on board with Bright as he looks to try to fight his way up to Matthew Dupuis, and yep, you called it. Ooh.
Yeah, trying to avoid Matthew Dupuis there. Kyle Blevins also getting around Scott Fleming further up the order.
Oh, and the round goes Flams. Oh my goodness, we got one open over.
Shane Cameron.
Well, not quite up, but certainly over top of another. He'll get the car flick spun back around.
And Mac Verstappen having a spin there, corrected by Matthew Dupuis, and that's where Shane Cameron runs over that car with his own. And then Tyler Carlton as well as Jeremy Castro both trying to go around without hitting each other. See the sin there.
Oh my word.
By Shane Cameron. And then all of these cars, Aaron Thacker also amongst those that abandoned their line to not run into that and make that worse.
Take a look here as look at Shane Cameron ramp up and over the top of Mac Verstappen.
Man. And look at all these cars. Great heads-up driving from everybody behind them to not get involved in that and make that worse than it already was.
Oh, man, Ryan Verhulst caught with a black flag. So that is not for an incident limit, though. That is something completely unrelated. And now spinning into the wall is Blake Gamble right around him.
Oh, man, both of them having, I think, just bad exits out of that hairpin. I think that's how we saw as much gravel as we did get to the inside of that hairpin in practice.
Yeah. Maybe just a little bit.
Awesome.
Evan Campbell gets around Ron Wolf as we got under 10 minutes to go. Thacker being brave. He's going to make it happen.
But he's going to have a slower line here because he was trying to keep that car from running into the gravel. And Ron Wolf be able to get it back from him. Into the doesn't look like it. Oh, and he goes for his event himself.
No, he gathers it up. Good save from him. The driver behind him, not so lucky as Carlton's into the wall.
Carlton into the wall. Ron Wolf parks it and calls it a night as well.
Tough break.
Yes, absolutely for both of those drivers. Here, locks up the brakes here and then just spins it, trying to avoid Ron Wolf.
Oh, man. One driver in the midst of all of that having a lucky escape, and I think that was Mac Verstappen that just barely juked around him.
Kept that car going the right direction. Yeah, we'll see it here. Just
nice avoidance.
That's one of those moments where you're really thankful you didn't target fixate and just run right into him.
There's been a little bit of that tonight.
Yeah, a little bit. Top 4, all within a second of each other right now.
Well, the fight going to continue as we've got ourselves now just 8 minutes on the docket. Time starting to run out. Probably, I'd say maybe, 5 to 7 laps left to go.
Yeah, I would say probably right. I'm going to split that right in the middle and say about 6 laps left to go, given that it's only a minute and 14 So we'll have to see how the timer shakes down and where they are in the lap. Kyle Blevins looking to get around Giovanni Romano here in the closing stages, not content to sit behind him for the last 6 laps here.
And critically, this look here is with race leader Jake Kasich. For the first time all night long, we got a proper fight for the lead on our hands.
That we do. Alex Buehler, Giovanni Romano, Kyle Blevins all setting faster lap times than Jake Kasich here in the closing stages. So I think all of these podium spots are to play for here as this race comes to a close.
Kasich, Buehler, Romano, Blevins, all running 1, 2, 3, and 4. All of them within a second of race leader Jake Kasich. From behind, Chris Bryant, a late lunge. He's able to get around Tyler Augustino. Good move for him. And all of a sudden, I think Buehler started to slip backwards because he's focusing more on defense than offense.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out, but Giovanni Romano has the look here. Chooses to back out of it. Kyle Blevins being forced to go a little bit wide to not run into him. And it's taking the line
there
but
goes
that is
Blevins.
Kyle Blevins. Yeah, unfortunate spin, just getting too hard on the throttle before that car had fully planted. And that's going to see his hopes at getting onto the podium come to an unfortunate end.
5.5 minutes as Jake Kasich seeks to fight it out with Alexander Buehler. They are having quite the fight ahead of themselves as Kasich retains the lead, but he is still very much within slipstream range if something goes awry.
And this battle between Gabriel Gonzalez and Tyler Augustino, I don't think will come to a close until the final lap. Both are setting such similar lap times over the course of the race.
So he is through. Ben Williams and Kyle Blevins are going to go and exchange positions as Blevins swings around the outside at turn 6, just keeps it on the racetrack. That lets Alex King go on offense as that disrupted Williams' momentum up the hill. Williams trying to get back to him, locks up, and he's not going to have it.
Alex King also trying to avoid running into the back of Kyle Blevins, who both of those drivers were slower than Kyle Blevins was, or excuse me, Alex King was.
You're right on board with Buehler as Buehler looks to try to chase after Jake Kasich down into turn numbers 2, and now back around for 3. Buehler still keep within drafting distance. Romano's attack was unsuccessful. And now the gap is closing.
Gap is closing pretty closely. And additionally, while we had Kyle Blevins before, Henry Morse has joined this battle as he wants a piece of the podium pie, as it were.
Plenty of fights still left to be contended. This is with Romano up over the hill. Oh, sorry, no, that's with Morse up at the top of the hill as he charges after Romano, and that gives Buehler some much-needed breathing room up the road.
Yeah, Alexander Buehler thankful that he sees a second car in his mirrors besides Giovanni Romano, so that he can finish closing that distance to Jake Kasich, which has still been sitting at around half a second.
It's a gap that is going to go nowhere for the time being. Of course, Jake Kasich right now trying to take just his second win of beer league competition. A big move to the inside as Henry Morse is going to try to secure third at least from Alexander Buehler, and nearly contact between them. Buehler slips back to fourth, Romano's into second, and now Morse into third. Romano's been quick. Can he be the one to run down Jake Kasich? While Kasich is looking to go for a win number 2 for Romano, it'd be his 28th. Of course, Romano's still holding the all-time win record and looking to extend it.
Yeah, have to imagine with the way Giovanni Romano fueled that car, he was in the box for a whole half second more than Jake Kasich, which is a big margin with how these cars get fuel. So I'd have to imagine that Giovanni Romano not playing the fuel game, that Jake Kasich might be.
It'll be 2 laps to go this time by. There's a look to the inside of the final corner. Romano trying to go for the top spot. 3 wide for the lead down the front straightaway. Morse closed in on the pit wall down to the left-hand side. 3 abreast. Romano's trapped in the middle. Kasich trying to fend off 2. Contact once, contact twice. And Morse hangs on for the top spot into turn number 1. Morse sweeps through. Kasich fights back against Giovanni Romano. Looking back for the lead into turn 3. Not going to get it.
Not gonna get it, and they're still too wide as they go into turn number 4. They're basically just trying to find the way to get through this as they all finally filter back out, but no real spots being, no time really lost between any of them versus just the rest of the field, and Alexander Buehler's just waiting in the background for something to go wrong.
Holy cow, Henry Morse continuing to pull clear. Jake Kasich has tucked in line though, and he is going to have one final lap to go this afternoon. Seeking the final lap this time around at the line. Does Henry Morse have what it takes to hang on? Kasich again trying to battle for win number 2 of his career. Henry Morse, no stranger to the podium. He is looking for win number 4.
And no look there in turn number 1. But the gap was closing between these 2 drivers as they got into turn number 3. Turn number 4, we'll see if that continues. I think Jake Kasich is waiting for that right moment to make the look and then not have the time remaining for Henry Morse to come back. Looking around the outside.
Oh boy. Can't have the run down to the turn number 5. What about for the kink at 6? Trying to go around the outside. Not going to happen. Tries to cut it in. Up the right Hall straight. Corkscrew for the final time. Lap traffic's up the road. Will Eric Ronenberg play spoiler in the battle? Will we see a lunge from Kasich? Not quite yet. Ronenberg spins it in front of them. He's not going to be a factor. Henry Morse continued to pull away, and I think Kasich got him set on the momentum run through the corkscrew. Morse pulling away. More and more. Buehler makes the dive for number 2 with 2 corners to go. And as Jake Kasich drops out of the podium, Henry Morse off the final corner. Morse sweeps through. He wins at the WeatherTech Racing Laguna Seca with an almighty 3 wide pass with 2 to go.
That fantastic pass there secured him the position there, but the battle between Jake Kasich and Giovanni Romano cost them both a little bit as Alexander Buehler slipped by to take home P2. With Giovanni Romano rounding out that podium, Jake Kasich in 4th. Kyle Blevins is a top 5. So a fantastic recovery drive for him after that spin there and the closing minute.
And I think Aaron Thacker may be out of fuel here as he lets a good handful of drivers through into the final couple of corners. So some drivers may very well have been towing the line with what they could push the fuel tanks to. Holy cow, what a run in the closing stages. And once again, Laguna Seca puts up one epic finish for the books.
Yeah, I think it is a fantastic race course. It always seems to deliver, and tonight, I think, was no exception.
Win number 4 for Henry Morse. No doubt a very happy camper with that one. And I don't think there is anyone here that is saying he did not earn that by making not just a 3-wide pass, but a clean 3-wide pass.
Yeah, a clean 3-wide pass followed up by a fantastic lap that was just enough to keep himself ahead of the rest of the drivers that were right behind him. So I think he absolutely made every piece of that work. Also from where he started to where he finished, up 13 positions in this feature race. So just a clean drive, I think, as well, got him to where he finished there.
Wild night here this afternoon, and we'll look to give a chit chat with all the drivers that finished this race up on the podium at the end of this one. For now, It is Henry Morse taking home the victory by 1.6 over Alexander Bueller. Giovanni Romano comes home third with Kasich at fourth. Kyle Blevins back in fifth. Alex King in sixth. Tucker, Agostino, Fleming, and Gonzalez then round out the top 10.
In 11th is going to be Brooks Clayton, Jeremy Castro in 12th, Sebastian Close in 13th, Chris Brighton 14th, Aaron Thacker are your top 15, Todd Madole, Mac Verstappen, Chris Flans, Ben William, and Greg Beckman round out the top 20.
From 21st back to 30th, it's going to be Babcock, Mailhawk, Carlton, Dupuy, Campbell, Lee, Cameron, Catlin, Ronneberg, and Verhulst, with the likes of Brissy, Gambrel, Wolf, Barrett, and Coppard closing out the field this afternoon. Well, we'll look to give a chit-chat here to the drivers that come home 1, 2, and 3 at the tail end of what was a very, very wild final series of laps here this afternoon. And we'll kick things off first and foremost with Henry Morse, the man of the hour, making that 3-wide pass for the win. Down to the turn number 1 with 2 laps to go. Henry, a wild race for you this afternoon. It did not look like the win was going to be so secure, but with the very brave look that not many would have made, you secure win number 4 of your career.
That one was really, really not expected for me. I was pretty off the pace in practice. Of course, I didn't qualify. I was facing the wrong way for a while in both the heat race and the feature. And just kind of figured it out throughout the race, and picked up some pace, had a couple of fortunate offs in front of me, a couple of good battles, and I definitely made the most of what opportunities presented themselves.
Of course, it was always going to be a close battle, and thankfully for you, fuel came in to kind of save your bacon there right at the tail end of this one. Had that not happened, though, what would have been the game plan with just a few corners to go?
I would have been able to finish the race without pitting a second time if I saved a pretty good amount. I pitted really early. I pitted 1 lap before the first code 69, and I was on track to make it with a little bit of saving. And I probably would have cycled to the front about halfway through the race when everyone pitted if I didn't get spun coming off the corkscrew. Luckily, there was some luck that fell my way towards the end of that race. But I pitted really early. I saved a ton of fuel. I was coasting all the way around underneath behind the code 69, and fuel saving quite a bit in the middle stint, which I think would have covered me to the end. But it definitely helped. I was bummed a little bit because if we didn't get that code 69, the second one, I think everyone would have pitted still, and I would have had a big advantage in terms of position, because when the code 69 happens, they're going slow through the pit exit and we're going slow on track. So I don't get that full advantage from their second pit. But I got a little bit of an advantage, which bumped me up quite a few spots to be within striking distance at the end.
Well, next week, it's one of the few races that's a known quantity, the Willow Springs Raceway, a race that we haven't seen in, gosh, I think since we actually first started covering beer league racing action here on the channel. What's going to be the game plan as we swing back out to California?
It's going to be fast, and it's going to be chaotic, and it's going to be pretty breathless. These cars aren't going to slow down a whole lot there. I was spotting Henry Lieberman in some practice earlier, and the laps are not a whole lot slower than 1 minute a round. So they're going to be fast and furious, and it's going to be violent out there if you go off. So it should be fun. It should be a lot of pack racing, honestly, because turn 1 and 2, you're barely slowing down, and then obviously you're going to break a bunch for 3, 4, 5, and then the whole rest of the lap is flat out. So I think it's going to be pretty intense, pretty close. Should be fun.
We'll wish you the best of luck when we swing out to a historical site. We'll wish you the best of luck when we go racing next week then at Willow Springs.
All right. Thank you guys as always.
A big run from Henry Morse takes him home to number 1 this afternoon. And, Fan, you've caught up with the driver that comes home on the backside of the three-way battle. You have our third-place finisher, Giovanni Romano.
That I do indeed. The individual that was in the middle of that 3-wide battle with 2 to go How is that like being in between two other cars that you did not expect to be in the middle of? I would have to imagine.
I'm just happy I didn't hit anyone. I was looking at the replay. I was kind of ping-ponging in between them because I was trying not to run into them, and somehow that maybe a good example of the good side of iRacing's netcode. A good job there, because that could have ended up really badly. But pretty exciting though, yeah. I was hoping I could keep it on the outside of Henry, and it didn't work. I don't know if being in the middle was probably the worst spot there, unfortunately. But yeah.
Unfortunately, I think it was. But the rest of the race going, it looked like pretty well for you overall. With that second podium of the season, are you enjoying this car any more than you were last week?
I think I'm getting more comfortable with it. Honestly, even with the practice today, I felt pretty way off of everyone, and I kind of just got better through the race, and I was feeling a little bit confident at the end. And then honestly, that battle. So I don't know if that battle went haywire because Kasich was running out of fuel, so he was lifting early in a few spots and was catching people out, which is. Where that dive came from for me in turn 1, because I just broke at my normal point, and he was backing out, and Bueller was backing out because he didn't want to hit him. And then it went crazy from there. And then he ran out right in front of me on the last lap, and I almost wrecked. Lost a spot to Bueller. Well, I ended up trading out because I got by Kasich and lost a spot to Bueller, so that's okay, I guess. But it definitely made it very, very exciting. So that was cool.
It was a fantastic last couple laps there. And I would say I definitely thought the fuel game for Jay Casey was a little bit more serious than I think either you or the rest of the drivers around you. So I'm be interested to see if that's going to be a quantity for next week when we go to Willow Springs. Are you a big fan of Willow Springs?
Not a track that gets used much, so I don't have a huge opinion on it. I think we had one beer league race there. Well, must have been years ago now in the Mustangs, which was actually a really good race because it was accidentally in the middle of the night and it was really dark and spooky. And that would be impossible with these because we don't have headlights. So hopefully the time is set correctly this time, and so it should be good.
That I believe it should be, and I think it'll make for some good racing by the sounds of it. Do we expect to see you back on the podium next week at Willow Springs as a result?
Oh no, we'll see. I think it's going to be pretty drafty, so maybe we'll get someone different up there. Maybe. I kind of hope so. I like it when people win. I think it's cool. So we'll see.
Very well. Any other shout outs or other comments that we missed before we let you get back to your evening?
Yeah, sure. Shout out to Henry for the win, and everyone in that battle there at the end. It was really good racing.
Fantastic stuff. Well, we hope to talk with you again at the end of next week at Willow Springs. That was Giovanni Romano, our P3 finisher for this evening in the beer league.
Next week's race will take us to the Willow Springs Raceway, a place that has been marked as a historical site now with all of its rich motorsports history. What a venue, right? The last time we saw this track come to play, it was actually for the season finale of Season 5 of the Beer League, and that was all the way back on November 15th, 2023. So it has been nearly 2 years since this league has taken a trip down to that very old circuit that has been completely unchanged in its layout in the decades since its inception. And of course, near the start of our channel as well, we weren't even a year deep into doing broadcasts when we first made our trek there. And well, our second race, same league, very different car though, bound to be a good one.
That it certainly will be. Very different, and probably how we'll see them drive as well, because we went from the Mustang, I believe, which is a car with almost, just a little bit more downforce than the Legends 34 Coupe we saw last season in Beer League, to probably the car with the most downforce we've seen in Beer League. So I think it'll make for some equally great racing under hopefully a little bit more calm circumstances.
Well, before we get to go racing next week, there's still more racing action coming on up here at the over on Green Flag TV. Tomorrow night, it's a doubleheader with the Average Joe Sim Racing League taking to the Phoenix Raceway alongside the Highline Diecast Collectible Speed Cup Series at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The Bolt Racing League Lightning Series will be out at Michigan with SRA swing into Dover on Saturday. Blaze Battles ARCA Series is out for more at Charlotte alongside for the Boys Racing League at Texas. And then Monday Night Racing will see us back to Charlotte Motor Speedway as well for the Guardian Premier Series alongside the OMS Roll Gold Series on Tuesday at Road America. That brings us back around to a triple header next week with Global IndyCar Challenge racing alongside the Premier Sim Racing Sim Expo Truck Series and, of course, the Beer League. Back for more at the Willow Springs Raceway. If you want to find out more about who we are, what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com. We'll see you all next time. My name is Rempel alongside Acinni. Next week, it's Willow Springs on Green Flag TV.